Chapter 688, Fruitless Wait. After hitting the deck, entering the cabin, and coming to his room, Klein was just about to say something when Anderson Hood spoke before he could. "That's not right. If I were the passengers on board this ship, I'd definitely be very afraid and nervous to see an adventurer who just offended the king of immortality. I'd either get the captain or first mate to convince you to switch to another ship, or I would switch ships myself. To my surprise, all of them are especially calm. This guy is very sharp. He's able to notice the minute details. Is this a real conspirer, often acting happy-go-lucky, shooting off his mouth and being optimistic, but in actuality, he has silently grasped the situation and made his preparations?" As Klein opened the door with his key, he began considering if the ship had any real problems. At that moment, Anderson raised his hand to slap himself in the cheeks before laughing dryly. "I get it. It happened just recently. The matter is only spread among a number of adventurers and pirates. Typical tourists and sailors wouldn't even know of this. Besides, people who know what you look like are definitely people with good intel, not ordinary people. Wow, he knows to answer his own questions. Do you know that time is life?" Klein lampooned and entered the first-class cabin. It wasn't that he wished to enjoy comfort, but that he needed to watch over Anderson Hood. He didn't want this unluckiest hunter to bring disaster to the liner, so he had gotten him to book a first-class cabin for themselves. With a suitcase in hand, he walked straight to the master bedroom. Klein pointed at the guest room and the servant's room, and he said to Anderson, "Choose one for yourself." Anderson was taken aback as he turned agape. "You're very used to this." "Of course, I have rich experience in interacting with hunters. If Danitz were here, I would designate him to the servant's room." Klein didn't answer as he entered the master bedroom. 1:30, the steam engine whistled as the liner set off on time. After hanging his coat, Klein walked out of the master bedroom in pants, a shirt, and a vest. He looked out the window at the horizon. Thanks to the wind, the green waves ebbed as they spread along the outline of Tosgarter Island, inch by inch. That's no way to see the full situation. Anderson came over and smiled. "You can only ensure that there are no problems from one of the flanks, and the death announcer might appear from the other flank or the front. The best option is to climb up to the crow's nest. Haha, there's definitely a crew member there, but an experienced hunter or pirate has 100 means to fool his senses." Klein turned around and looked at Anderson with a stoic expression. "Well said. I'll leave this to you." Anderson was taken aback. He snapped to his senses and asked in surprise, "You don't have any other means to observe?" Without any other means to observe, how was he to lay a trap for the king of immortality? "No," Klein nodded his head with abnormal frankness. "I can only rely on you." "Who gave you the courage to leave under the king of immortality's scrutiny?" Anderson was momentarily speechless. As he muttered to himself, "Don't stop me, I'm jumping ship," he left the cabin room and headed for the bottom of the crow's nest. In theory, King of Immortality Agalito, or the Death Announcer, should have long sensed my ill intent and sensed the danger that stems from me. Then, will they attack? Will they believe that I'm at the level I show myself as and that I don't have any help? Or will they suspect that some powerhouse who can interfere in their premonition for danger did something? Klein retracted his gaze from the door and looked once again at the sea outside. After a while, he suddenly sensed something as he quickly activated his spirit vision and turned his head to look to the side. The tall skeleton messenger burrowed out of the ground, the black flames in its eye sockets jumping slightly. It only revealed its upper body, so it wasn't too much taller than Klein. It looked at him at eye level and handed him a letter in its hand. Mr. Azek replied pretty quickly this time. Klein politely nodded and received the neatly folded piece of paper. After the skeleton messenger collapsed and disappeared, he unfolded the letter against the sunlight coming in from the window. "I'm very happy to hear about your advancement. Your travels have been more interesting than I had imagined. Those waters are indeed very dangerous. I vaguely remember that it might have to do with the source of the cataclysm. As for why there's a remnant aura of ancient death there, I'm not too sure. I will keep your warning in mind. Before completely recovering my memories, I will not enter those waters." The true creator's ravings aren't pleasant to the ears. I'm somewhat interested in the ring worn by Admiral Hell. However, I've recently been embroiled in some past matters. I might need some time before I pay him a visit. Upon seeing this, Klein couldn't help but smile. After replying to Mr. Azik, I'll tell him that I have the means to lock onto Admiral Hell Ludwell's location. I must get him to bring me along with him when he pays a visit. Oh no, I didn't divine the location of the Murloc cufflink recently. I'm not sure if Ludwell has discovered it or thrown it away. Yes, I'll divine it above the gray fog after I confirm that the death announcer isn't pursuing me. Moving his gaze away, Klein continued reading. The ancient chronicles I received from Katerina does mention matters regarding artificial death. To put it simply, the former royal family of the Balam Empire, present upper echelons of the numinous episcopate, had gained inspiration from the hidden sage's sudden coming to life and turning anthropomorphic. They wish to let death, which is at present only a concept, to experience something similar. There's a possibility of it being fulfilled. Due to the indestructibility of Beyonder characteristics, the perishing of death doesn't mean that the corresponding Beyonder characteristics and authority has been completely lost. According to the chronicles, the corresponding research hasn't reached a breakthrough, but that was from centuries ago. The sequence 4 corresponding to Seer is Bizarro Sorcerer. The powerhouses from the Antigonus and Zeratul family left me with a deep impression. Even though I've already forgotten the details, my recollections are still able to bring me some feelings of fear. As for where to get the formula and ingredients, I'm not sure. Perhaps you can consider switching to neighboring pathways. I've already recalled matters regarding this. You can choose Sequence 4 Secret Sorcerer of the Apprentice pathway or Sequence 4 Parasite of the Marauder pathway. However, I vaguely remember that these 3 pathways only allow switching at Sequence 3. Indeed, there's only arrows left. Klein forcefully produced a grin. After reading the reply, he took out a pen and paper and wrote down parts of the content he had already thought of, as well as asking about the exact definition of a mythical creature. After putting down the pen and paper, he wasn't in a hurry to summon the messenger. He planned to wait for the death announcer to appear before adding the request for help into the letter and then mailing it out. This way, he could hold out for some time with the Sea God Scepter, and he might even have Mr. Azik tear through the spirit world to rescue him. When the time came, the two of them could join forces and have a chance to claim the death announcer as theirs. As for why he didn't write it ahead of time, it was because a devil might not come again due to their premonition for danger. Of course, Klein had no idea whether they could sense the exact contents of his current ill intent. After patiently waiting for a few hours, Klein heard the door open. When he looked back, he saw Anderson stroking the side of his face. He walked in with mixed emotions. The death announcer hasn't appeared. We've completely left the waters around Tosgarter Island. The King of Immortality actually didn't seek revenge. This fellow is more impressive than I imagined. Anderson sighed inwardly. Klein gave a regretful nod, walked to his coat rack, and took his coat and hat in preparation to head for the dining hall. In a secret chamber, a small Red Gloves team was discussing a case they were on. Sol Assurer Sost held a chalk and pointed at a blackboard. The Devil murder case, this time, has some similarities with the assassination of Duke Negan in Backland. First, a human skin with its own smell and aura appeared. This is something that hasn't appeared in many of the devil-related cases in the past. Second, there's more than one devil. They take turns wearing the human skin in order to carry out their normal activities to conceal their partner's evil acts. Finally, they're suspected of belonging to the Berea family. At that moment, Leonard, who appeared to be listening attentively in the corner, couldn't help but recall something when his captain mentioned Backland. Having witnessed the complete destruction of the underground ruin, he wanted to find time for himself to investigate the mysterious detective, Sherlock Moriarty. He had planned on starting from Sherlock Moriarty's former landlord, but his team took on an emergency case and began to investigate a new series of serial murders. He had no choice but to leave Backland. Leonard, what's your take on this? After Sost finished his briefing, he named Leonard Mitchell to continue. Leonard turned his head to the side in a daze and looked at the content on the blackboard. He quickly organized his words and said, "I believe that it's not only a form of concealment, but is also a requirement of a particular ritual. Captain Sost, as you know, devils have many kinds of blasphemous and evil rituals." Reasonable deduction. Sost then gestured for another team member to speak his piece. "Phew, thankfully old man, has recently been catching me up on devil studies." Leonard heaved a sigh of relief and began attentively listening to the discussion of his team. After a 2-day voyage, the liner safely arrived at Oravi Island. After checking into a hotel, Klein said to Anderson Hood, "Wait here for me. That demigod doesn't like strangers suddenly visiting." He didn't wish to expose the contact person of the life school of thought. "I hope I'll live to see him." Anderson smiled bitterly as he wished himself good luck. The corners of Klein's mouth twitched, and he gave up saying anything further. He rode on a carriage and went straight for the church of Stormsint, Draco Cathedral. Before long, he arrived once again in the small room in the magnificent bell tower, where he saw the tall, extremely asymmetrical and ugly bellman, Carnot. After hearing Jayaman Sparrow's intentions, the hunched Carnot nodded. "I'll bring you to Mr. Rixirdo. He has already recovered and is no longer where he originally was." "All right." Just as Klein gave a response, he suddenly recalled that Carnot was a product of the Church of Earth Mother's human body refining. He then asked a question, "Do you know Frank Lee?"